Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Edmonton Oilers Throwback 2010 franchise mode here in NHL 25. So last episode, if you did not catch it, we simulated the rest of the 2011-12 season, and we missed the playoffs, which is fantastic because obviously we are trying to rebuild, and we also got some pretty good results from some of our younger guys, so that was a positive year, all things considered. We are going to be drafting quite high up this year. We did fall back in terms of the draft lottery, but we do still have a lot of selections in this year's draft class, which is nice as we will be drafting 5th overall with our own pick, 19th and 15th with the picks from the Ducks and the Devils. Then we also do have 4 second-round picks, 2 third-round picks, 2 fourth-rounders, and a 5th and a 6th. So we should be able to get some good prospects into our core for the future here, and I'm very excited to see what we end up snagging up and what this team's going to be looking like in a few years once these guys start to develop and we start getting those like that really big like depth kind of in a sense, because at the moment we don't really have the craziest depth. We have some guys that are actually kind of growing kind of well, like Boychuk, for instance, who we signed in free agency. Apparently he's now up to a third line scoring forward, which is pretty insane, but in general, like, we don't still have that great depth yet. We only have 1 guy listed as a second line forward and 2 as a first line forward, so hopefully this draft class could help us address some of those issues going forward. And then from a defensive standpoint, obviously that's our biggest weakness right now, so hopefully we could get maybe some defenders in some later rounds as well to help with our defensive prospect pool. And in goaltending, I guess we technically need some more goalies, but at least we already have Grubauer and such to develop. So we'll be interested to see what we can snag up here. Hopefully we could also draft like Nail Yakupov in the 2nd round, because it would be nice to have him in the lineup and see if we can make him actually a good player, unlike real life. I mean, in real life he was an okay player, I guess, in his rookie season, but afterwards he fell off a lot afterwards. So I'm kind of hoping that we can maybe put him with some guys that can maybe make him overperform, and then maybe his potential goes up. But anyways, before we get into the 2012 NHL draft and the Resign stage, let's get your guys' comments, see what you guys have to say about last episode, and then we'll get all into that type of stuff. So the first comment is from Michael Dose, who says, state of hockey was pathetic with Rangers and Sabres as the 2 worst teams. And yeah, New York was pretty damn bad for sure. The Rangers have had back-to-back first overall picks. They will be selecting again this year at number 1, which means aside from having Nikita Kucherov, who they drafted last year, they will likely be drafting Phil Forsberg to play alongside him. So the Rangers are building up a kind of a nice young core of players of Forsberg, Kucherov. Like, that could be a nasty top line as a sniper and a playmaker, because I think I made Kucherov a playmaker because of his passing, and then Forsberg's a sniper. So that could end up working really well for the Rangers. I'm not sure who's they're going to have down the middle on that line, but definitely the Rangers are going to be a scary team eventually. The next comment is from Sour Taco, who says, go with Cameron using your first pick, one of the goalies 2nd, and a defenseman 3rd. Snag our old friend Nail in the 2nd round. And then Tyler G1994 replied to him and said, yeah, I agree with Sour Taco. This is what I would do too. So he's saying to go with Cameron with our first selection. So this is likely what we're going to end up drafting, which will give us a nice like option in case Sam Gagner doesn't work out here long term. Yeah, so Chase Cameron, he's listed as a gem. He's a generated prospect, obviously, so he's not a real player from the 2012 draft class, but still should be a nice player to hopefully give us at least some scoring on our offensive core down the road. He then said to get a goalie with one of the second first round picks we have. So that means we are either choosing between Vasilevsky or Hellebuck. Linus Ullmark's goodness too, but I think he's a long shot from making it at least. Yeah, he's 2 years out according to the game, but he was longer in real life, I think. So it's obviously between Hellebuck and Vasilevsky. I'm not too sure which one I would choose because I think I made them both have the same potential, if I'm not mistaken. One's compared to Braden Holtby. Vasilevsky's not compared to anybody. Yeah, I don't know which one I would choose. Apparently, Hellebuck has a character issue, which is kind of hilarious that the game generated that as an issue for him. It should say, like, weaknesses is playoffs, but it doesn't. I might go with Vasilevsky, but I don't really know if there's a wrong one with that decision. I mean, Vasilevsky is a bit younger, I guess, than Hellebuck, so maybe that makes the decision easier. But it's going to be a tough choice regardless. So anyways, we take Cameron with the first pick. Then we'll take one of these 2 goaltenders depending on which one I want to do. Maybe we'll put it up to a wheel spin or something like that. And then he says a defenseman 3rd. So in terms of defenders with our 3rd pick that we have in this first round, we could probably lean towards maybe getting somebody like maybe Slavin, maybe Matt Dumba, Colton Parayko. Like, it's got to be one of those defensemen probably. Esa Lindell's even decent too, but we could definitely look for one of those defenders with our last first round pick we have this year, because there's definitely a lot of defensemen in this class, and some of them obviously better than others. Others are okay, like Cody Ceci, for instance. We're not going to take him, but he's an okay defenseman. He's not the craziest. I probably would lean towards maybe like, yeah, either Slavin. If Slavin doesn't fall, obviously I might go to Parayko, because it would be nice to get a right defenseman. So maybe Parayko's a guy we could go for. Maybe Matt Dumba. I feel like Parayko is better than Dumba, though. So we probably lean towards like Parayko, maybe Jake McCabe even, something like that, to help out our defensive core for the future. And the last two and final comments are from Jared the Rabbit, who says, Hayduk in Detroit is cursed. And yeah, Hayduk went to Detroit, won a Stanley Cup with them. It is definitely a cursed image. I don't know. I don't know. It's not as bad, I guess, technically, maybe as the Korea in LA one. I didn't think that was a huge issue, though, to be honest, either. But Hayduk in Detroit is kind of weird, just because obviously Detroit and Colorado had some pretty big rivalries in the early 2000s. So if the Avs, if Hayduk actually left the Avs to go to Detroit, obviously Detroit fans would find that kind of interesting. Colorado fans probably, on the other hand, probably would just completely get pissed off about that type of thing, considering Hayduk obviously in real life was just a career-long Av. So if he actually went to Detroit middle of his career, it probably would have been a little bit of a weird thing for the entire NHL in a sense. And lastly, Jared says, Leafs coach was Ron Wilson at the beginning, but Randy Carlyle by the end, so that makes sense. So I think, didn't the Leafs fire their head coach in this season? I think they did. So kind of makes sense that they actually did fire their coach in real life as well. So with that said, I think we're ready to get into this 2012 NHL draft. Obviously, we are hoping that we can get all the players we want, and I'm kind of curious on what we're going to be able to grab with our other picks. Like, since we have so many second rounders, obviously Nail Yakupov is going to join the team for sure with one of those selections. I'm not too sure what else aside from that. And in the third round, maybe we could get some stuff too. But it should be interesting to see what we could build up in terms of our prospect pool with this draft class. Obviously, next year's draft is the big one, and then after that, there's no more actual draft classes. They're all generated after that point, so we will have to address the draft quality in the off season of next year, I guess, technically. So if you guys could remind me about that when we get to that point. But anyways, let's hop on in and see what we snag up here. We'll see what AI teams end up grabbing at the end of the draft as well as we typically do. So Rangers have first overall pick, followed by St. Louis, Dallas, Buffalo, Edmonton is us, of course, and then we got like Carolina and stuff like that. So should be interesting to see where guys go. Hopefully some guys go to teams they actually played for or were drafted by, because it just makes it a little bit more cool that way. So there is the first round, what it looks like. All right, so let's see what the Rangers take at number one, because we're not going to move any of our picks this year. Let's see what they take. They take Philip Forsberg. So, yep, Philip Forsberg is on his way to the Rangers to play with Nikita Kucherov. I'm interested to see how that works out for the Rangers. I think it could be really, really deadly. So, nice little addition there for New York at number one. Really good shooter. Putting him next to Kucherov, who's a really good playmaker. That should be pretty nasty for the Rangers. Let me go actually to offer trade. I want to kind of see what Kucherov's developing like, because he hasn't played in the NHL yet, so chances are both those guys might make their debut next season. Let's see. Gabrick has put on the block. Holy crap. Okay, well, that's interesting. Marian Gabrick got put on the trading block because of the Kucherov drafting and stuff like that. Damn. I mean, he is signed for 3 years, and they don't technically need him, but that's a kind of an interesting player that I'd be on the block this early in the franchise mode. But yeah, Kucherov's up to an 81 and 19. So yeah, this is going to be a nasty top line eventually for the Rangers. Right now you have Kucherov the playmaker. You have Forsberg the sniper, who's probably going to get signed to his ELC. And maybe Brandon Dubinsky between them. Tough to say. But regardless, yeah, the Rangers are going to be building up quite the prospect pool, it seems like right now. I mean, Chris Kreider even is a good prospect for them still too. So, and Ryan McDonough. So I think it's going to be a really good Rangers team, and they're eventually going to find a way to win a Stanley Cup. So there is that. Let's see what St. Louis takes at number 2. They select Festerini, who's a generated guy, of course, but still a good overall. Nice little prospect for them. Dallas at 3 selects Vasiliev, who's also a generated prospect. Defenseman two-way. All right. Buffalo at 4 will select Morgan Riley. So Morgan Riley on his way to Buffalo, which is kind of strange. So there goes Morgan Riley. So Obviously, pretty trash defensively, so we'll see how he generates growth, but I don't know if he's going to be the most insane offensive defenseman in this, but who knows, maybe he'll be helpful for Buffalo. All right, so that means with our selection here in the first round, we're obviously going a little bit off the board because technically Thomas Hertl's still there, which Hertl's a great player. We could take Hertl, but I would prefer to go with the generated guy just because he's a gem. He's also probably the best of these three. Shane Goss's bear would be nice, but we are probably going to take a defenseman with our third pick anyways. So let's go with Chase Cameron here as our first selection. So welcome to Chase Cameron into Edmonton. And he's also an 81, so he's pretty much as good as like the best overall player so far in this draft class. So that's a really nice steal at number 5. Here's what Chase Cameron is looking like, just in case you guys want to see all his stats. Damn, 83 assists in the States last year. This guy might be an absolute stud playmaking-wise. And there's all his attributes. Good face-offs, really good skater. Some actually decent physical attributes, too. So he looks like he all-around could be a good player. He has puck on a string and shock and awe. So we'll see how good Chase Cameron bees. Hopefully he bees decent for us. Maybe he's the McDavid that this team is going to eventually draft in real life. So we'll see how he ends up being, but that's a nice little selection there for our team. Let's simulate to our next first-round pick at 15th. See what we could take up here. We aren't going to focus too much on what goes before selection because we're going to look at that at the end of the draft and all that. So, a goalie with our next pick, we probably should go for Vasi because he's supposed to go earlier. I do really like Hellebuck, though, too. Trying to look at these guys a little bit better. Yeah, I think we got to go for Vasilevsky here. I was leaning towards maybe Hellebuck just because he's Connor Hellebuck after all, but character issues aren't the greatest, and then he is definitely a little bit worse, it looks like, in attributes than Vasilevsky. Vasilevsky's also a little bit younger, so I think we're going to go for Vasilevsky, and hopefully he could actually simulate like a good goaltender, because obviously sometimes when you have really good overall and potential goalies, they don't really simulate like they should. So I'm hoping Vasilevsky's kind of an exception to that. So yeah, let's take Andrei Vasilevsky with our next first round pick. Boom. 72 overall, high elite, so I didn't even make him a franchise goalie, but a high elite is still good. 72 overall, so he is AHL eligible, which is interesting. He's actually listed as a minor backup goalie, so my question to you guys is, do we already sign him to his ELC soon? Because if we go to offer trade now and show you guys our goalie system here at the moment, Vasilevsky definitely makes our goalie prospect system a lot stronger. We could easily run in the AHL next year Grubauer and Vasilevsky, which means Pitten's gone, and then Danielson, I mean, Danielson has good potential still, but now we are at this stage where we might not need these elite goalie prospects like Danielson and Tuomainen. These guys I don't think are UFAs for a while still. Tuomainen actually might be, so we might have to think about, we would sign Tuomainen to his ELC, but he might not get the play in the AHL. We might have to flip him at some point. Same goes with Danielson, just because Vasilevsky's a lot better. So I'm not too sure what we do with the goalie situation. Do we leave Vasilevsky unsigned until he's NHL ready, basically? Because that could be a play. Or we could run him and Grubauer in the AHL. So, or we can maybe, if Grubauer actually gets enough growth, we could run him as the backup option behind Dubnyk instead. And if Vasilevsky could run the AHL. I'm not too sure. We'll see what Grubauer even develops into, but that's anyways our goalie situation now. Let's simulate to the next pick and see what we could get for a defenseman with this 19th overall selection. Slavin literally just went to Nashville right before our selection, so that means we are going to be probably going for... Wow, we could still get Connor Hellebuck here. I'm surprised Hellebuck's fallen a little bit. I might go for Colton Parayko. I feel like Parayko's probably the best of the bunch. Like, if you're thinking, like, of all the defensemen out there in the NHL and stuff right now, I'd say Dumba has definitely dropped off a lot. He's not as good as he used to be in real life right now. Colton Parayko's still solid. Jake McCabe's okay as well in Toronto. Brady Shea getting paid a lot of money. Esa Lindell's decent. I really do like Esa Lindell, but he is a long shot from making it right now. Colton Parayko is also the same amount of years away, but Colton Parayko is an absolute monster. I guess he grew in height and all that stuff, but he's 6'6", 249 in this, which is absolute units. So I think I'm going to lean towards Colton Parayko for the defensive choice, which actually is kind of neat because he didn't actually play for the Edmonton Oil Kings. He actually played in the United States, but he's from like St. Albert, so he is an Alberta guy too. So we might as well bring in an Alberta defenseman. So Colton Parayko, welcome aboard. Boom. 62 overall, not bad. Obviously going to take a little bit to develop, but still a nice little defensive prospect to add behind like guys like Justin Falk and all that eventually. Like, I do not mind that selection. Hopefully he develops into being something good, but I'm not too sure how he develops in franchise mode, so we'll find out, I guess, in a few years if he's actually going to make it or not. So that's all our first round selections. Let's simulate to our next pick in the early second round here. We do have a lot of second rounders and thirds and stuff as well, so still a lot more picks to make. Obviously, our early second round pick, I'm going to use this already, I think, to go for Nail Yakupov here. So Nail's going to be joining the team. He is going to be a good overall out of the gate. He's not going to have much potential, but should be interesting to see how he is. And it's kind of funny looking at his strengths because his strength is a leadership ability and an elite speed, apparently maybe in a pro release. No weakness, according to this. So Ilya Yakupov is going to join the team, and we are going to hope that we can make him into a really solid player. 75 overall, medium top 9. I forgot that's how good I made him. That's a pretty damn good player, and he does have X factors, so I guess he generated those X factors because I don't think I gave him X factors. But yeah, that's actually quite nice. Very good offensive awareness, not great passing. His shooting's 3.5 stars, so if he could get that shooting up there, we could literally turn him into a really good goal scorer, I think. He did generate close quarters and all alone, so that will be interesting. I like also that he can play both sides, so that is quite useful. He's not very physical, is a good skater. We'll see if he ends up becoming anything. We could already sign him to his ELC if we want to, but I'm not too sure if I want him in the AHL yet or not. Just because even though he was just playing a junior in Custom League, it would let him probably play in the AHL. So we could probably sign him if we want to, but I'm not too sure. Let's simulate to our next selection, which is just one pick after this. So, wow. That was a really good steal by Nashville. A generated prospect by the name of Parks. 79 overall defenseman. So maybe I could have went for that instead first before I went for Yakupov, but did not even realize that guy was going to be that good. So shout out to the Preds who are building up that defensive core like they always do. Damn. There is a generated prospect by the name of Marcoux. Ooh. Wow. He's NHL ready. Well, Kenny Marcoux, as a generated prospect, he's probably going to be similar, I guess, to that defenseman we just saw. There's no reason not to take this guy. We might as well draft him. So Kenny Marcoux is going to be maybe a future third-line center, maybe a top 6 center. He's a two-way forward, so it does give us a guy that could kill off penalties and stuff. Might be in the NHL lineup next season. So kind of an exciting one there. So let's bring in Marcoux. Bang. 79 overall as well. Damn. Some really crazy steals here in this draft so far. I like this one a lot, though. I think this one obviously could have went earlier than Yakupov, but I'll take Yakupov any day. Marcoux's got good face-offs still, too. We could maybe develop this guy into being a really good penalty kill power play guy. Like, he doesn't really have any weakness whatsoever. Like, even his, like, skating's good, his physical's good, his shooting's decent. Like, everything has no weakness, really. Except for fighting, which we don't really need him to fight. So, I like that selection a lot. And he's definitely going to get his ELC. He's either going to be in the NHL right away or AHL. So, that's quite sick. I like that selection a lot. I don't even know which second rounder that was of ours. But let's simulate to our next pick at 45. As Chris Tierney just ended up in Ottawa. That's hilarious. Our next selection. We could bring in CC. We could bring in VC. VC and CC. That's hilarious. Let me take a look at some of these generated guys too. Pritchett could be decent. I'm trying to think if I want to go with a real guy. Josh Anderson's not bad. Yuka Rine, generated guy. 4 years out. Generated guy in Jonathan Baker. Yeah, we're kind of getting into the area where it's not as good of prospects. There is still a lot of defensemen, which I don't mind if we draft another D-man maybe. You know what? I think I might actually go for somebody like CC. Like, we might as well just add another defensive prospect. I know he's not going to be the most insane defenseman in the world. Like, I think he's a medium 6. But at least it gives us more prospects on that defensive side of things. Because our defensive core right now, like I said, it's one of our weakest points. So we might as well address it. So, welcome aboard to Cody CC. Boom. 66 overall. So he will be joining the Edmonton Oilers. Obviously a little bit early. Oh yeah, there's also Connor Brown to go for. I don't know if he already went or not. Because I forgot that somebody said I should draft Connor Brown before. But nice to have CC on board. Let's sim for 47. Let's decline that. We do have another second rounder. Okay, we might be able to still get Connor Brown if he's still here. Which I don't know if he is. I feel like he already went. There is a gem in this generated guy who's a medium 4 in Corbin Dolan. Griffin Reinhart. I forgot I made Griffin Reinhart in this. Grabbed a teammate of Colton Parayko in this universe. Griffin Reinhart would be funny for the memes, but Anthony Stolars. We don't need more goalie prospects. Oh boy. Yeah, it looks like Connor Brown already went, unfortunately. So I'm not going to be able to grab Connor Brown. We could always trade for him eventually, but I guess this next selection we could go for a decent bottom 6 forward, or we could go for a generated guy. I mean, I don't mind Brock McGinn. He is 2 years out. I don't remember what potential I gave him. Maybe bottom 6. Yeah, you know what? Brock McGinn's okay. I think we'll bring him in as a bottom 6 option for the future. Boom. 68 overall, medium 9. I forgot that I gave him medium 9, but that's a solid starting point for him. We'll see if he ends up becoming much for our bottom 6 or not, or if he's more of an AHLer. Let's simulate to 63 now, which is my favorite number, so hopefully we can find a steal here. Matt Benning. I mean, he did play for the Oilers, right? Mikhail Grigorenko, generated prospect from Waters. I feel like I've drafted so many centers already, but this guy seems good too. And then there's that medium 4 in Dolan. You know what? Let's go for Dolan since he's a gem. We might as well just draft another defenseman. Boom. And he's a left-handed one. So Dolan's a 65. That's pretty good. We are definitely building up our prospect pool quite well, I feel like, with this class so far. So let's simulate to the next pick, 82nd, which is in the late 3rd round. And we only have a 4, 5, and a 6 left. Or do we have 2 4th rounders? I don't even remember. We're drafting a lot of players, though, with this class. Hopefully we have a lot of picks next year, too. Trying to think if there's anything interesting here. At this point, there's not that much, unless let's sort by potential. Is there any good potential players? Not guaranteed. There is this Obergauer guy. You know, I'm going to go for Obergauer, go a little bit off the board here, I think. Let's go with him. Boom. And he's a low 6. Damn, that sucks. Let's simulate to the next pick here. We should be 4th round now. How much picks do we got in this round again? Let's see. Yeah, we have 2 4th rounders and a 5th and a 6th. Let's go find trade and try and get rid of these picks because I don't think I need them much anymore. This draft class has definitely dipped off in quality a bit, so let's see if anybody would be willing to give me anything interesting for these 4 selections. Nobody has a trade found. What about just the 2 4th rounders? A 2nd round pick in 2028. Wow. Well, I mean, I might as well take that from Anaheim. 2nd round pick from Boston, Chicago, LA's 2nd rounder from Columbus. Trying to think of who's not good. Yeah, I think we'll go for Anaheim 2nd. So I'm going to give the Ducks 2 4th round picks. We're going to take it back a 2nd for next year. Just because I don't feel like I need those extra selections. And I will see if anybody's interested in my 5th and 6th, but I doubt it. Because they aren't going to be much use to any team. Let's see. Oh, some people are interested. Some people are willing to actually give me prospects, which is kind of funny, but I don't really want a forward or a skater back. Just give me picks. Just give me picks. If anybody has anybody. Oh, there's a 3rd rounder from Atlanta. That's actually probably decent. So you know what? We'll do this one with St. Louis, so you guys can take my 5th and a 6th. I'll take a 3rd rounder back. And now we don't have any more picks in this year's draft. Just because I don't feel like those are necessary picks. Alright, so there's our draft. Let's simulate the rest of this, and then we'll see what the AI ends up taking in this year's draft class. So let's take a look at 2012 class. Here's our selections, just in case you guys want to run down again. Cameron, Vasilevsky, Parayko, Yakupov, Marcoux, Ceci, McGinn, Dolan, and Obergauer. So I think obviously the first, I'd say, 5 selections all really good. The next few selections obviously could be good, might not be. So I think that was a good draft class for us. Let's take a look at the picks round by round, see where everybody went. So After our selection, because we saw the earlier ones, Gostisbehere ended up in Carolina where he actually played. So, and he actually, does he play there now? Yeah, he does, because he got into that thing with friggin' Brad Marchand, which is hilarious. Thomas Hertl goes to the Islanders. Nikita Gusev does end up in Tampa Bay, so that's sick. Chandler Stevenson to the Coyotes. Tara Vinen to Columbus. Trouba to Colorado. Tom Wilson ends up a Flame. Hampus Lindholm in Ottawa, as I mentioned, just like 2BC's series, I think he drafted Hampus Lindholm, or he traded for Hampus Lindholm, I think it was, back in the day. Ryan Murray ends up in San Jose. Damon Severson to Florida. Jacob Slavin in Nashville. Connor Hellebuck ended up in Toronto. That's kind of nasty. I mean, Toronto fans are going to like that. That's going to be really good for the Leafs. Really, really good for them. Matt Dumba goes to Atlanta. Jake McCabe to the Canucks. Brady Shea to LA. Tanner Pearson ends up in Pittsburgh. He did play there for a bit. Esa Lindell in Chicago. Mike Matheson in Washington. Adam Pelech with the Minnesota Wild. Oli Mata in Montreal. Kerfoot in Detroit. Second round after our selections. A lot of generated guys. Allmark ended up in Tampa, so Tampa does get a good goalie, despite us taking Vasilevsky. Galchenyuk ends up in Atlanta as well. Or should I say Winnipeg by this point, I guess. Faxa ends up in Dallas. That's pretty sick, considering that's actually where he went. Colton Sissons in Columbus. Zemgus Girgensons in Atlanta. Lawton in St. Louis. Connor Brown went to the Flames. So we didn't get Connor Brown, but he ended up on a rival of ours, so that's kind of interesting. And then Tierney in Ottawa, where of course he actually played there. Hinostroza went to the Flames. VC went to the Ducks. Athanasiou to Atlanta. Martinook to the Carolina Hurricanes. Love to see that. Derek Pouliot to Vancouver. Love to see that too, because he actually played there. I think that was a generated Anderson, because I'm pretty sure Josh Anderson's class already happened, if I remember right. If not, that might be him. I'm not sure. Ben Hutton to Columbus. Jankowski to Carolina too. Hey, I love to see that. So Carolina is literally drafting players that are on their real-life team right now. Jankowski and Martinook. So that's sick. Grizzly ends up in Toronto. Kulak in Boston. Aside from that, Colin Miller ends up in Dallas. That's where he is right now, too, I'm pretty sure. Eric Gustafson in Carolina. Matt Benning in New York. Grigorenko in Anaheim. Joakim Ryan in Tampa. Matt Murray to Ottawa. Oh, boy. The Sens draft Matt Murray. I don't like to see that. Matt Murray was terrible when he was here. Leipzig and Columbus, Devon Shore, Drew Shore, so one of those Shores to Pittsburgh, Griffin Reinhart to Minnesota, Stolars to St. Louis, Bluger to Anaheim, Carrick to the Devils where he actually played, Corpus Salo to Dallas, DiGiuseppe to Phoenix, Cedric Paquette to Atlanta, Cuckoo to Columbus, Dodgen to Chicago, Nick Shore, multiple Shores in this I guess, to St. Louis, Seth Griffith to Philadelphia. Stefan Matteau to Colorado. Charles Hudon to the Rangers. Martin Furk to the Buffalo Sabres. Oscar Sundqvist to Carolina. Brendan Gaunce to Philadelphia. Kristen Juice to the Islanders. Paul LaDue to Tampa. Jamel Smith to LA. Boo Nieves, or Cristobal Nieves, you could say, to Dallas. Jujar Kyra to Anaheim. Jacob Megna or Jason Megna, one of the two of them. I can't remember which one, to Pittsburgh. Aside from that, Chris Drieger ends up in Florida. Hey, that's realistic. Anthony Stolars to Anaheim. That's realistic. He played there in Anaheim. Aside from that, that might be it. That might be it, finally. Let's just double check on this. Marek Mazanik to the Yotes. That's another one. Malcolm Subban to the Flames. So a couple goalies still going at this point. Any other goalies? Just want to make sure I'm reading everybody out so you guys can know where everybody's going. I do not see anybody else, I don't think. Just have to double check, though. Because who knows if somebody just randomly goes in the 7th round or anything. I don't think that's the Matsumoto I made because he was already in the AHL in 2010. That looks like it. Yep, that is it. That is the 2012 NHL draft. So kind of an interesting one. A lot of players going to teams they actually played for, so we'll see if they end up sticking around or if they end up getting dealt in some blockbuster trades and all that type of thing. I do also want to quickly take a look if there was any trades at the draft before we advance a day. It just looks like some pick movement. St. Louis got Freddie Meyer in a trade for picks and stuff. Lebda ended up in Colorado via trade. The Atlanta Thrashers made a lot of moves at the draft. A lot of pick movement. Interesting. So we'll see what that does for Atlanta. But let's advance the day and get to the re-sign stage and see what we end up doing here. Because we got a lot of decisions to make, and also we will be trying to get Sam Gagner on a good contract. So starting off with the unsigned prospects, we're obviously signing Cameron to his ELC. He will be NHL bound next season. We will also be signing Marcoux to his ELC. He will be getting a chance to probably play in the NHL next year. The interesting ones are like Yakupov. Zhurdev, who we drafted last year, is pretty much ready to play in the AHL too, I think. So I need your guys' opinion. Do we sign both these dudes for the AHL or NHL, even for that matter, for Yakupov? I'm not sure. Yeah, I'll leave that up to you guys for next episode, but we could give some of these guys already ELCs if we want to, or just let them sit here and develop a bit. Vasilevsky probably should get his ELC, but I'm going to wait and get your guys' opinion on that too, because right now we'd have to scratch an elite goalie prospect if we do that, because we are going to be letting go of Brian Pitton. Let's salute to Pitton. Good AHL goalie, that's pretty much it. But we will be signing Tua Mine into his ELC despite being a low overall. He has potential, so maybe it's good to keep Vasilevsky not ready for his contract yet, just so we could kind of get Tua Mine in to develop a little bit first before we make a decision on those goalies. I'm not too sure. Aside from that, let's go back to the RFAs here. Go through this list of the RFAs we have. Let's go to the bottom of this. Maybe we should free up some space in the AHL. Yeah, How many UFA AHLers do we have? Not a ton. I guess we will go to the bottom of this and let go of some of these filler players like Cody Wild, for instance, Johan Motin. I know they are young, but we are just going to try and clean the house a bit with the AHL. We will sign guys with good potentials or somewhat potentials, like Joachim Anderson. He could get re-signed. Theo Peckham could get re-signed. Chris Vandevelde could get re-signed. I just want to make sure that we're getting that AHL team set up and ready to go. Ryan O'Mara, 1-year deal is fine with me. Planta, 1-year deal would be fine as well. We are going to probably have to make some room up in the AHL at some point in time. Omark is fine to get signed too. Lucas Spiza, what are you wanting? 2-way deal, we'll just give it to you, even though you're going to be playing in the NHL. Nyquist might be in the NHL next season too. We'll sign him up if he wants to. Riley Nash. All these guys want 2-way contracts. That's kind of insane. Carl Hagelin, do you want a 2-way contract too? You do. Okay, well, we'll give you it. Zach Boychuk, we might need cap oil still. Zach Boychuk wants a 1-way deal. I actually might be willing to do that because he is getting somewhat decent. He might be too good though, almost in a way, but let's just give him what he's asking for right now. Petrie, what are you wanting? Not that much. I'll come back to Petrie and Brûlé. I want to look at Gagner's extension here a little bit more. He has not a lot of organizational interest, so there's no way I could really counter the money. But I do like Sam Gagner's performances a lot. Obviously, there's a guy that could take over Gagner's spot in the next few years, so it's a little bit risky doing a no-movement clause in those last 5 years. I mean, hypothetically, by year 3 of this contract for Gagner, I could flip him if the young prospect outdevelops him. Let's try to see. Why do you go down to this? What if I just got rid of all the no movement clause? He'd be a UFA in 3 years. 2 years, he'd be still an RFA. He has less interest in 2 years. Less interest in 3 years than 2 years. That's interesting. 4 years, no clause. Okay, maybe we could get rid of the clause, which is good. Like, he does still have a lot of interest in the one without a clause, it looks like, maybe. Just gotta give him a little bit more money, probably. 6 by 6.5. Yeah, I think we'll do a 6-year deal at 6.5, see if Sam Gagner will accept that. Because I know I do want Sam Gagner here for a while, at least. Let's go back to UFAs here. We are going to let go most of the UFAs, I feel like. Maybe a few of them we could hold on to. Actually, maybe we should just let most of them go. Let's go first to the NHL ones. So let's get rid of Rod Pelly and the filler players, basically. Colin McDonald as well. Let's just try and find a way to get some room and see what we have first. Samuel Lepisto. Yeah, I think I'm just going to let go of a lot of these 77s and stuff, and we could sign what we need back again in the next episode. Adam Party. I do like Enver Leeson as a depth forward. He wants a two-way deal as well, so I am going to just hold on to Enver Leeson, I think. And Mac D'Agostini, maybe just hold on to him too. Sure. I do think I'm going to let go of Pouliot and Nelson potentially, though. We are going to sign Toffoli to his ELC because he's ready to go. Dean Arsene could probably get replaced, but you know what? I'm going to let go of Dean Arsene. Let's do it. And we'll sign a lot of the prospects that we've been drafting. This guy's actually a 68 at 19 as a low 7th. Let's just sign him since he's a high overall. Gagliardi could get signed as well. We might as well get some prospects into our AHL team a bit. Vichy, or Veshy, sign you. Bachman, I'm not going to sign you. You're not that great. Same with Petrolainen. And goalies, I need a contract for Devin Dubnyk. I know that's actually a pretty solid contract. Takes him till he's 30 years old. It's not a huge overpay either. Might be able to lower this because he does have organizational interest. Let's try 3.1 for 4 years for Devin Dubnyk. And that's a movable contract once those goalie prospects are ready to take that step, probably. So let's advance today, see if anybody rejects out of the contracts we just get dished out. There's a lot of them, so let's just go through this fast, and we'll see if anybody actually rejected or not. Which I think I might have seen one in there, but I'm not too sure. Okay, that should be almost it. There you go. All those UFAs we gave contracts to are back. RFAs, Nyquist did not accept. We will give him a little bit more money. Boom. And then Petrie, obviously, and Brule, and Gagne rejected that 6-year extension. Huh. They gave you 6 years and gave you 6.6. You know what? If I do 6 by 6.6 and I change this, the last things instead of movement clause to a modified no trade clause, and I gave him, let's give him 36% trade protection. Let's, that actually doesn't work that well. He probably wants a full-on clause, it seems like, which is interesting. What if I do no movement plus modified? That doesn't do much more. And no clause doesn't change anything. No movement clause ups that a good chunk. Let's just do the modified thing like I was saying and see if you'll accept that. Aside from that, Jeff Petrie should be relatively cheap to bring back. He's a UFA in 2 years if we give him this deal, but we might as well give him a 2-year deal as a trial run. So we'll lower this a bit to just over $3 million. See if he'll accept that. Gilbert Brule I like as a third-line center. 3-year deal. That's pretty cheap. Let's give him what he's asking for. That's a movable deal anyways. And then, yeah, I do think I'm going to let go of Pouliot and Nelson. I do like these guys, but they're going to make us too good right now. And obviously, Pouliot's probably going to lose some ice time due to, obviously, Cameron. Same with Nelson. So, let's send these guys to free agency for the time being. Because we're going to try and rework things a little bit more with our younger guys involved. Gagne rejected, same with Brule, same with Nyquist, and Petrie's on board at least. But Nyquist rejecting is kind of weird, because he's literally an AHL right now. Let's give him a maxed AHL deal and see if he'll accept that. Let's retry again with Brule. A lot of these guys have kind of low organizational interest, so I might have to qualify them, which is not a terrible scenario. Let's give... You know what? We're just going to qualify Brule, I think, for the time being. And then Sam Gagne. I do like Sam Gagne, but do I want him for 8 years? Like I said, I think we need to lower his time here almost because of Cameron. And I don't really like that no movement clause involved too much. I mean, I could hold on to it for half of the years potentially. And then try and flip him in year 3. Let's up this a little bit. 6.3. You know what? I think we're going to do that for Gagne. See if he's willing to just take 2 less years with that no movement. Because I could trade him by year 3 potentially of this contract if he's basically getting outgrown by that elite prospect by then. So we'll see if Sam Gagne accepts that. We have the money anyways. And in UFAs, we should be good. Yep, we got Dubnyk back, so that's good news. Let's advance. Gagne is still rejecting. Nyquist is back on board, which is good. Gagne rejecting these contracts is kind of annoying. If I gave him exactly what he was asking for, he probably would still not want it. That's the thing. How many years does he have of RFA status? 1 year he's still an RFA. 2 years he's an RFA. Then he becomes a UFA. You know what? I think I'm going to disqualify Sam Gagne. I wanted to sign him long-term this offseason, but I think now that we just drafted Cameron, I don't think that Gagne is going to be the long-term solution. He might end up being, but Cameron's literally going to be probably our third-line center this season behind Brule. Cameron could jump up past Brule by the end of the season, and then maybe up past Gagne within 2 or 3 years. So we might have to think about moving on from Gagne once Cameron's better, or maybe Gagne just becomes a second-line center for us down the road, but we might as well disqualify him if he's going to be a little bit of a stickler for his money right now. So that is all dealt with. And in our unsigned guys, like I said, maybe we should sign Zherdev for the AHL already. I'm not too sure about signing Yakupov, but let's see. Under contract for the AHL, we'd have, let's see, that's 6, 7 basically. So we have 1, 2, 3. If we sign Zherdev, 4, 5, 6. We could use more defenders potentially. You know what? We're going to sign Zherdev for sure for the AHL already. But I need a decision on what you guys think with Yakupov. Do we sign Yakupov yet? Let him play in the AHL? Or do we just wait 1 year or something and see if he jumps up? Because we might have to give him a good chance in the AHL. Like, who would he be playing next to in the AHL? He would be probably playing next to Burmistrov, maybe even. Or Hodgson. If he's playing next to Burmistrov, that could actually be a really good combo. Playmaker and a sniper. Because likely the NHL centers next season, Gagne, Brule, Cameron, Marcoux, or Riley Nash, maybe one of them. I don't know exactly, but Marcoux definitely will be a fourth-line center, I think. Which means Cog's playing on the left wing. Yeah, I think we could honestly sign Yakupov and play him next to Burmistrov in the AHL, or even Hodgson for that matter. I'm going to wait on your guys' decision on that, but I think that might be the play. Alright, let's simulate the free agency and see what's available in free agency as well as on the trading block. That type of thing. Zherdev is joining the AHL team. They're good to see. But let's take a look at what is out there, just in case there's stuff for our team to have. So, sign free agents. What is there available this year? Let's go to UFAs. Oh my goodness, I already see some big names. Starting off with the goaltenders. Not that we need a goalie, really. The biggest name available, Martin Brodeur, will be heading to free agency going into 2013-14. Obviously, in real life, he signed with the St. Louis Blues going into 2014-15. So I wonder where he's going to end up, if he's going to stay with the Devils or not in this universe. Still a good overall, but he should be on the decline soon. Let me see who's interested in him right now. That would be, where's the team listed? The New York Islanders. If Brodeur signs with the Islanders, that's kind of weird. Pekka Rinne is also a free agent. God damn, that's a really good one. Pekka Rinne leaving the Nashville Predators. That's kind of surprising. Mike Smith is there, but yeah, it's basically Rinne and Brodeur who are the best goalies available by a long shot. Is there any good young goalies that are free agents? This guy named Outlaw, Korpikoski, they're not really that great. They're kind of low overalls. All right. In terms of defensemen, Mike Green, though, that's the one I saw. Mike Green's a free agent. He's going to get absolutely paid a ton of money, but he should be worth that type of money. Just won 2 Stanley Cups and 2 Norris trophies. And yeah, he's been very, very good so far in franchise mode. That's a huge loss, though, for the Capitals. Like, I wonder what their Capitals are going to look like next season without Mike Green. Wow. 4 points last year in 12 games. Damn, he didn't do that well last year in the playoffs by at all. The years that they won the Cup, he was fantastic, but last year not so much in the postseason. Aside from that, Tom Gilbert, obviously our former defenseman, he's a free agent. Rob Blake's a free agent again. Ryan Suter's already a free agent? Oh, actually, I guess that makes sense because he would be around going to Minnesota at this point. So, some interesting turmoil in Nashville, letting go of Suter and also Pekka Rinne. Kyle Quincy's there. Wow, Kyle Quincy went up to an 85. All right. There's some pretty good defenders out there, not going to lie. Even former defenseman Sheldon Souray, Matt Niskanen. A lot of good defensemen went to the free agent market this year. Any good prospects? Just Mike Green, basically, even though he's not a prospect. Who is interested in Mike Green out of curiosity? Is it Washington again, or what? Nashville is the top interested team. Damn, Nashville might have let go of Ryan Suter to bring in Mike Green. Whatever floats your boat, Nashville. That's pretty insane, though. It's pretty insane. From a forward perspective on right wing side, Tomo Ruutu, Steve Sullivan, Christopher Stieg. All right. Brad Boys. There's actually some okay players in this free agent crop. Sergei Kostitsyn, Viktor Oreskovich. Huh. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of movement. Yannick Hansen left the Canucks already, too. Like, I'm curious on where all these guys are going to end up. Very, very curious. Let me go back teams interested for a second. The only one that has interest is Jason Williams. I don't really care what team has interested in him, but left wing side of things, Mason Raymond is a free agent. 2 teams are interested. Let me guess, the Toronto Maple Leafs. No, Buffalo is the top interested team in Mason Raymond. Nick Hagman's there as well, which Nick Hagman sometimes simulates crazy good in this franchise mode next to Jerome McGinley and all that, but he's going to be a free agent this year. Top team interested, Carolina Hurricanes. All right. Not as crazy as the left wing side of things as the other positions. Best center available is Derek Roy. Derek Roy and Chris Drury. Matthew Lombardi. 42-year-old Sergei Fedorov. Don't know why he hasn't retired yet. Damn. Yeah, this is an interesting crop. Very, very curious on what happens in terms of re-sign stage stuff for other teams. Or actually free agency, I should say, stage. Peter Regan's actually a nice young player, but we don't need centers at all. Let me just go to all skaters now and sort by potential, see if we missed on anything. This low top 6 in Zibanejad. No, thank you. Let's see. Any other prospects? Does not seem like it really. Yeah, not really a lot of young prospects out there, but there are some good players. We might need to sign cap whales, but we might not. All right. So there is free agency. Let's take a look at the trading block just in case there's a trade to be had, but I don't think we have anything we'd want to trade anyways, but let's just take a look anyways. So starting off with the Anaheim Ducks, Lupul, Wisniewski, Visnovsky, Brookbank, a lot of good veterans there. Antropov, damn, this might be a crazy offseason for movements. You know, I'm not actually going to read them all out because or else my voice might die, but let's just go through every single team. But in the early stages, it looks like a lot of good players, but now it looks like mostly picks. I'm just kind of curious on what the teams are going to look like going into the 2012-13 season, which obviously next season technically was the lockout shortened season for Met on the Block, Umberger, Commodore. Damn. Hopefully we see some crazy movement, because it's always fun when players change teams in this, because it's like the biggest what-if scenario. Only 3 people on the block in LA, huh? All right. Nick Backstrom, Kudobin. Damn, some goalies in Minnesota. Montreal has nothing but picks. Nashville, nothing. New Jersey, nothing. Islanders, Svatos, Martinek. All right. Marian Gaborik still on the block is a big one. I wonder if he's going to get flipped. Because, like I said, they have Kucherov now and Philip Forsberg, so they don't really need Gaborik. But he's got a lot of value. He hasn't been simulating that crazy in New York so far. But the Rangers have been a really tough team. They made the playoffs in year one and haven't made it since. So we'll see if they end up getting to a finals by 2014 or not. Ottawa has some good players on the block. Philadelphia, Daniel Briere. Damn. Tim Thomas is on the block again. How did he play when he was a Flyer, out of curiosity? Not very good. Not very good. I mean, Philly was a bad team, though. But, yeah, Tim Thomas is definitely dropping off quite a bit. Phoenix has some defenders. Pittsburgh, some prospects. San Jose, Anton Forsberg. Nothing at St. Louis. Nothing at Tampa. Colby Armstrong. Damn, Chris Kelly in Toronto is disgusting. It just does not work for me. Vancouver, all right, and Washington. All right. Yeah, I'm not seeing a whole lot. Not seeing a whole lot in terms of trades, but we might be able to sign some cap whales. How much money do we need to spend potentially to hit the floor? Quite a bit. We need to almost like double our team salary cap right now, so we will have to sign some free agents, but they're going to have to be guys that are making a ton of money. Maybe we just pay Sam Gagner what he wants, basically. Just because the highest paid player on our team right now is Patrick O'Sullivan at only $3.8 million. So maybe we need to sign somebody to a lot of money. Yeah, because Devin Dubnyk's one of our highest paid players right now on the team. So I think we might have to sign some people or just give him a lot of money. Or we just give Gagner what he's asking for, even with the clause involved. That might end up being the play. And then we could also just give Brule more money too. I just wanted to make sure we had them under contract for sure next season. But our team is going to be interesting next year. Because if we sort by all players, we actually might have a decent-ish team. Like, it's tough to say what this team actually needs. Because if we look at our centers, like I said, I think our center core is pretty much set in stone of Gagner, Brule, Cameron, Marcoux. And then Riley Nash might be a depth forward or maybe plays on that fourth line. Cogliano is going to be used as a left winger. Him, O'Sullivan, Boychuk, Hagelin, Ryan Jones. Maybe Nyquist jumps up and being a right winger. And then right wing side, we have Eberle, Leeson. Like, I don't think we really need that much in terms of free agent signings. But we definitely need to sign some people so we could be cap compliant. Our defensive core probably needs the most work because we only have like 2, 3. Yeah, we pretty much have like 5 good defensemen. Like, we could probably use somebody like O'Byrne as a depth defenseman if we really wanted. So, hypothetically, we could sign more good defensemen if we want to. But I'm not too sure if that's a good thing because it might make us too good. And then goaltending, we'll probably still run Dubnyk and Delorier. Which means AHL, it's going to be Grubauer and Tuomainen. We might honestly just leave Vasilevsky unsigned just so he could jump to the NHL right as he's ready to go. So, there's that. Anything else I want to take a look at before I end this episode? I don't think there is. Just want to make sure. Do we need any coaches and stuff? I don't remember about that. I do not remember about that. Let's see. Not really. Nope. We don't need any coaches. All our NHL coaches are still there, so that's all good. Perfect. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Edmonton Oilers Throwback 2010 Franchise Mode. So in next episode, we will take it to the 2012 free agency portion of the offseason. We'll see what we end up snagging up. Obviously, we'll have to sign a few players just to get cap compliant, but it's going to be an interesting team next season. Excited to see what some of the young guys could do and all that. And obviously, hopefully we still don't simulate the best because we're still trying to rebuild for at least a few more years before we try and contend and hopefully make the playoffs for the long haul. So I think that below, and I'll see you guys next time.